How you doing, YouTube? Silver shareholder. Thought I'd make a video. I heard a lot of talk this week about the Cyprus wealth confiscation, or whatever you want to call it, the bank holidays. So I guess they voted against that. For a while it sounded like that was a done deal, but apparently they've decided not to do it. But just the fact that there was a debate about that, or that that option was on the table, should be a wake-up call to anybody who wasn't already aware of this potential. I think most of us here, most of the people watching this, already knew that kind of thing was a possibility. I think those kind of things are what drew a lot of us here. But just the fact that they were talking about taking 10% of people's money straight out of their savings accounts or bank accounts should be a real wake-up call. They say if you don't hold it, you don't own it, and I guess that's the truth. And some things like their paper currencies, if you do hold them, they could still take them, or at least take their value by printing and diluting, watering down the whiskey, or whatever you want to call it. But so I'm hearing talk here about the sequestration and the budget cuts. And from what I hear, that's a bunch of BS. It's really not a budget cut. There's really no cuts. It's actually increases in spending. What they're doing apparently is reducing the amount that they're increasing spending by. So they might use it for a reason to cut certain things. But if what my take on it is correct, it's really not budget cuts. It's they're cutting the amount that they're going into debt. So, they're still spending, they're still going into debt. The budget is still expanding. It's just expanding by a smaller amount than what they had originally intended on. So, the way you see this thing on the news or on TV, it's like a bunch of propaganda about, big budget cuts. But from what I'm understanding, it's really not a cut. It's a lessening of expansion. So I thought that was interesting. Been looking at the Detroit housing market or the Michigan housing market, and I'm kind of wondering what's going on with that. I guess I've got some thoughts on it, or maybe figured out some of the issues. But it's kind of tempting. You see houses going for next to nothing up there. I even saw a guy. I haven't spoken with him, but I'm probably going to give him a call. Supposedly he's giving away homes for free. I saw that on Craigslist. But I'm guessing, with that, the catch is probably either that there's back taxes due, or possibly just the yearly property tax is something where if this guy has a bunch of properties, maybe he doesn't want to be responsible each year for the property tax on vacant properties. That would be a loss to him. Or my other thing that, I wonder about, or that concerns me, is if you had these, dilapidated, rundown, problem properties, if you might be somehow obligated or fined to either repair them or tear them down. So just owning these things, I think, could be a liability, in that the city they're in may require that you either bring them up to code or demolish them or pay some kind of fines, or even besides all that, the taxes on them, I guess, especially if you had a bunch of them, would be prohibited, especially if they're valuing them much higher than what they're actually worth. So I find it interesting. It's everybody, land and property, and especially like rental properties, is one of those things that everybody would like to have or should aspire to. But then on the other hand, that carries its own risk. Kind of like these bank confiscations. There's always that other end of it. Whereas if you own these properties and things, they could raise the taxes on you, or they could just straight take the property. Eminent domain, or they'll come up with some new name for it. They could just take all the properties and nationalize them. Anything's possible. I don't see that happening. It's not on the radar yet, but anything's possible. You think you own this big farm, they could say it's a security issue. They need food supply for the country, and they could just take your farm, as part of national interest. So I don't know if owning property at this point is an asset or a liability. I'm thinking about Silver Britannias. They're, to me, seem like a good way to go. Let me see if you can get that. This is the 2013 Britannia. and it's a nice looking coin. They changed the designs on these, and I guess it looks like they're using the same design from 2012 though, so I don't know why they carried it over. I guess this is the first year of the 999. Before, I believe they were sterling. So this is 1 ounce of 999, and I think the mintage is somewhat low on them. You know, not low mintage, but compared to some other things. And I don't think they're really popular, so I think that that could be a really good opportunity to make a few bucks on these Britannias, especially in a couple of years when you know, people are trying to build sets or whatever. This is the first year of the 999, and if the designs keep changing every year, I think it could be a hot item in the future. And I don't know how they're selling over there in England because of the VAT taxes. So, you know, they might not be too many of them out there. So I think that the Britannia is a good way to go, and I like them, so, you know, picked up a Britannia. And, you know, there it is. You can hold that as opposed to land. You know, you can't take land with you, and so I'm not so sure. But, you know, that Detroit housing market sure does look tempting. But then again, you know, every plus has a negative, two sides to every coin, so I'm sure there's a reason for the Detroit housing market being so depressed. But yeah, I'd love to hear your comments on it, and you know, thanks for watching. Have a great day.